No, I'm okay. We'll let you. We'll let you talk. Yeah. Whatever happens today, if you want to meet or just go. Okay. He's to the west. Properties to the west. Right. I'm kind of the same way.
Okay, it is 1:30, and this is the Oklahoma County Planning Commission meeting in room 204, August 17th meeting. Notice of this meeting was posted on August 11th. Call to order, Eric?
The members of the Planning Commission are Jennifer Craig, Denise Patterson,
Here.
Rob Talbot,
Here.
Greg Davidson,
Here.
and sitting in for Commissioner Davidson is Don Cash.
Cool, we have a quorum. Item number 4, approval of minutes of the previous meeting. Everybody's gotten a copy of the meeting. Are there any updates or changes, or I'll take a motion to approve?
I'll motion to approve.
I'll second.
Roll call, Eric?
Ms. Craig, Ms. Patterson,
Yes.
Mr. Talbot,
Yes.
Mr. Davidson,
Yes.
and Ms. Cash.
Yes.
Okay, minutes are approved. Item number 5, discussion and possible action to approve/deny the replat of Track B of Waterloo and Coltrane subdivision, RE 2023-01. Staff report, Eric?
Yes, so as you can see there on the map, it's on the west side of Waterloo, south side of Waterloo, west side of Coltrane. The north portion there has already been platted, and this is part of that plat, but they're just also adding these additional 4 lots that you see there. This is a commercial industrial subdivision that you see before you that's part of this plat. Pretty straightforward. If there's any particular questions, let me know.
Any questions for Eric? Is there anybody here who would like to talk in favor of this item? If you could state your name and address, please.
Yeah, Anthony Hanley of Crapital Associates, 300 Point Parkway Boulevard, Yukon, Oklahoma. Like Eric said, this is just a straightforward, we're just adding 4 additional lots to the previous plat. So unless you have any questions, I don't have anything else to add.
Any question? Thank you, sir. Anybody here to talk against item number 5? If you could state your name and address, please.
Hello, yes, my name is Tyle North. I'm with Atlas Asphalt Products here at 3800 Northwest 8th in Oklahoma City. We have a hot mix asphalt plant on Waterloo Road. They're just at the top of that picture. Our question and concern is really more with the intersection there at Coltrane and Waterloo. We're seeing more and more activity going on. Clearly, there's plans for more industrial and residential development in this area. This particular intersection sees a lot of traffic, and it does back up in really all directions. And we just want to see if there's any concern or anything we can voice concerning that particular intersection and any improvements that might be possible as we're seeing continued growth in the area. So, thank you.
Anybody have any questions? Thank you, sir. Eric?
I might be able to answer Mr. North's question here. So as this property was rezoned commercial and industrial, one of the things that is required as they improve these lots is we have a resolution that was passed in 2012 where there's a fee in lieu of widening the road there, or whomever builds on a particular piece of property would have to widen the road at that particular point in time. So as an example, the Dollar General that's there along Waterloo, they were the first ones who actually was affected by that particular resolution. They decided to do the fee in lieu of road construction. And so that money has been earmarked for Waterloo Road. Now, the county engineer might have more input of when that area might be improved, but my point of bringing that up is there's funding that we're getting from each one of these particular pieces of property as they develop to be put towards the road and for it to be improved at some point in the future.
If I'm reading this correctly, their entrances will be off of Coltrane.
Right, but it would.
It would go to that, right?
Right. So it's, I understand it's not going to get back to the intersection itself directly, but obviously as you're improving Coltrane and Waterloo, widening that, it just makes sense at some point in time to improve that intersection as well. So I think in this case, it's just more of a matter of time. As these develop, we would have money to move forward with those improvements.
Anybody have any more questions for Eric? Anything you'd like to add, Stacy?
Well, as we do collect this money from the developers, the commissioner from that area will put money together with his money and do an improvement at the appropriate time. It sounds like from what I'm hearing with the activity out there, it may be getting close to that. But I haven't visited with the commissioner on where this is in the schedule. But we'll do that.
Obviously, that the county line is only going to be on the Oklahoma County side.
Right, that is correct. That's a good point. Waterloo Road is shared between us and Logan County.
So that does complicate things. Would there have to be an interlocal agreement between us and Logan to work on that spot and it'd be a priority for both counties at the same time and get some improvement in the whole intersection where we're just collecting money on 1/4 of it.
And we have existing interlocal agreements with them and are working in that direction of variety of fronts near that area. But would you say again, I've heard you say it, but it's helpful for me to repeat again what the mandate is when they improve there, then what that financial commitment or requirement is.
So once the resolution was put in place by the Board of County Commissioners back in 2012, and essentially what it is any particular piece of property that is zoned industrial or commercial, when they go to develop that piece of property, at that time, towards the end, we typically either collect a fee in lieu of to put towards the improvement of that road at some point in the future, or the person who owns the particular piece of property can improve that frontage. So it's along the entire frontage. They can do that themselves at that particular time. So they have an option of either the fee or construct it themselves.
And Stacey, were you saying as those fees then are collected and build up, once there's a certain amount, we move in and address the situation? Is that what I was hearing?
That's the thought or the plan.
Okay.
Any other discussion?
Yeah, there's no fee involved in this, correct?
No. It's just as they sell these particular lots to potential buyers, if they put some commercial industrial operation, whomever actually constructs on the property is responsible for the fee. or the construction.
But if it's, as long as it's residential, there's nothing.
Right, but in this case, it's already all been zoned. On residential, like subdivisions, there's not a fee in lieu of, but one of the things that we look at is there are improvements into subdivisions in regards to ingress and egress based on the speed limit. So it may not, it's not gonna go the entire frontage of the property, but it at least gives us the ability to have them improve the particular entrance there for people to get in and out safely.
And splitting these into 4 new lots, that has nothing to do with any kind of zoning change, right? Zoning is what it is.
Right, it's currently part of a PUD, which is a planned unit development. But that planned unit development is a commercial and industrial, yeah, and that doesn't have anything to do with what they're doing today.
Any other discussion? I'll entertain a motion to approve / deny item number 5.
I'll make a motion to approve item number 5.
I will second.
Roll call?
Ms. Craig?
Yes.
Mr. DeFuria?
Yes.
Ms. Patterson?
Yes.
Mr. Talbot?
Yes.
Mr. Davidson?
Yes.
Ms. Cash?
Motion approved. Item number 6, discussion and possible action to approve / deny the preliminary plat of the Reserve PP 2023-01. Report, Eric?
Yes, this was a particular piece of property that was been in front of the Planning Commission a few months ago for the rezoning. So all these lots are 1 acre lots that you see here, and the general plat has been approved. This is the preliminary plat where the engineering has been turned into us in regards to road and drainage improvements. The county engineer has reviewed that. Really didn't have any issues with what was proposed. There was some minor changes that were requested in regards to the common area. There's a pond there, just some additional riprap. So just some small changes, but overall, everything looks good.
Questions for Eric? Is there anyone here who would like to talk in favor of this project? State your name and address, please.
Good afternoon, Mark Grubbs, 1800 South Sarah Road. I don't have anything to add, just happy to answer any questions if you have any questions.
Any questions for Mark? No, that's all. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anybody here to talk against this project? Hearing and seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve / deny item number 6.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Roll call?
Ms. Craig?
Yes.
Mr. DeFuria?
Yes.
Ms. Patterson?
Yes.
Mr. Talbot?
Yes.
Mr. Davidson?
Yes.
And Ms. Cash?
Okay, so next is item number 7, but item number 8 piggybacks with item number 7. That's correct, Eric?
That's correct.
Okay, so the next is the discussion and possible action to approve / deny general plat for Hera 90 GP 2023-06, and the discussion and possible action to approve / deny the final plat of Hera 90 FP 2023-02.
So the general plat is just the overall design of what they're wanting to do. As you can see there, the majority of the lots are 10 acres in size. They also have some lots that front Northeast 36 that are going to be 5 acres in size. With this particular project, there's no public improvements that need to be made. And based on the lot sizes you have there, there's no rezoning involved as well. So really the general plat and the final plat are approved or sent forward at the same time because of that.
The question I had, Eric, was for lot number 8, which is the bottom right-hand corner. Do we know if is that going to be entering on the Potawatomi Road or Hera Road, or 36th Street?
Well, they can set up either way.
Either way. Okay.
Right. We haven't confined them to which direction they have to enter from. My initial thought, let me look at the file here if I recall correctly. I think it's more than likely they're coming off of Potawatomi Road, but let me look here.
We just require that it's set far enough away from the intersection.
Right, that's correct.
Is there already a structure on that lot?
I don't know if there's something being built there now. I don't recall a permit. Maybe the applicant might be able to give us a little bit more information, but I see what you're regarding to, but I'm not aware of anything off the top of my head.
Any other questions for Eric? Is there anybody here who'd like to talk in favor of this project? Name and address again, sir.
Good afternoon, Anthony Hamley, Craft and Toll Associates, 300 Point Parkway Boulevard. So this is already zoned R2, which is minimal lot size at 2 acres. We're far beyond that of having 4 5-acre tracts and 7 10-acre tracts. With that being said, it conforms to the subregs, and I don't have anything to add unless you have any questions.
But is there a structure or something on that?
I'm unaware of that. Maybe the current landowner was doing something there, but I'm unaware.
Any questions? Okay, thank you, sir.
Mhm.
Anybody here who would like to talk against this project? Sir? State your name and address, please.
Parker Manick, 21401 Northeast 36th Street. And I'd sent in a previous a statement for approval that I'll read out now. Let me get to that. So, as I had said earlier, TUMA concerns the ecological impact of dividing the 90 acres into lots for development is unsustainable and unnecessary movement. While currently used for agriculture in the form of intermittent cattle grazing, this has imitated the role of buffalo played in the Cross Timbers region and allowed for a second growth forest to successfully grow up in the acreage, as well as protecting, as I looked up in the master plan for the county as authored by this board in 2007, helps protect the Garber Sandstone watershed, which provides water to our region. Additionally, this area is close to adjacent to the Lincoln County Conservation District, giving even more importance to this additional space for wildlife to reestablish and thrive. While it's certain that most folks here have their minds made up in regards to progress for progress' sakes, I had to give my piece for the sake of nature conservancy efforts and for our shared water sources. Thank you.
Hold on, sir, hold on. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, thank you. Eric, was that the statement that you just handed?
Yes, that was his letter of protest that I gave Ms. Craig, Mr. DeFuria there.
So can I get a motion to accept that letter into the record?
Second.
Roll call?
Ms. Craig, Mr. DeFuria,
Yes.
Ms. Patterson, Mr. Talbot,
Yes.
Mr. Davidson,
Yes.
Ms. Cash.
Yes.
Okay, so while we're reading this and looking at this, any comment on what the gentleman just said, Eric, or?
Well, he is correct in regards to the water study. Most of the water supply that our jurisdiction get is groundwater. This is basically the outcrop of the Garber Wellington on the east side of the county. Garber Wellington goes from the east side all the way to the west side. So yes, that is what he stated is correct in regards to water. Now, I can't speak to the Lincoln County Conservation as I'm not familiar with what they have over there, to be honest with you, but.
Is that what he just said? We can get you to speak up here.
The question of the structures on the area where you see any of the inlets there, it's abandoned oil field works. There's several oil derricks that were, I think the company was Revelation, I think was what had been printed on the side of the different derricks, but there's several abandoned oil sites all across the area. So,
How far do you live from this property?
within, well,
Don't touch the screen, but you point to it.
Have you been on this property before?
I have been on the property.
Cattle lease or what?
Cattle lease, yes. The land behind, you see where there's the two small, sizable ponds. That's been a cattle lease of some family members that have had cattle run on that for the past 30 odd years.
Is that a bunch of cedar trees on there?
No, it is all. I didn't. I think I mentioned. I might have skipped over that part in my statement. It's second growth post and blackjack oaks. There are some cedars interspersed, but it's not overwhelmingly so. It's mostly oak. And then some pecan in the lower lying areas you see closest to 36th Street.
Thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions or discussions?
Those would be water wells and aerobic systems, correct? Not laterals.
Right. That's correct. They'll be serviced by water wells and septic or aerobic type of system.
And since the gentleman brought it up, if that's an abandoned oil site, how does that play into all this?
Well,
And does it even concern this board?
not really, because we don't have any oversight when it comes to oil and gas operations. That's really the Corporation Commission. So if it's something that needs to be cleaned up, that's something they'll have to deal with. We don't have the ability to regulate those operations.
So would that lot be buildable? And that may be a question for you. If there was an abandoned oil site, is that lot?
Yes, that's correct. It's buildable. All structures have to remain within 150 foot of any active well. With that being said, with them being inactive, the homeowner would have to, like you said, contact Corporation Commission and then have these properly abandoned if they haven't done so already. But yes, they are buildable. And with that, with the lot sizes, there'll be minimal impact. Having a 10-acre lot, more likely to build a house and a shop and then leave the rest of it as is. So there will be minimum impact to the scrub oak, as previously mentioned.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank
Hearing no more discussion, we'll have to vote on these separately. I'll take a motion to approve/deny item number 7, discussion and possible action to approve/deny the general plat of Hera 90 GP 2023-06.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Roll call, Eric?
Ms. Craig? Mr. DeFuria?
Yes.
Ms. Patterson? Mr. Talbot?
Yes.
Mr. Davidson?
Yes.
Ms. Cash?
Yes.
That brings us to, I'll take a motion to approve/deny item number 8, discussion and possible action to approve/deny the final plat of Hera 90 FP 2023-02.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Roll call, Eric?
Ms. Craig? Mr. DeFuria?
Yes.
Ms. Patterson? Mr. Talbot?
Yes.
Mr. Davidson?
Yes.
And Ms. Cash?
Yes.
So items number 7 and 8 are approved. Item number 9, discussion and possible action to approve/deny the zoning change from R2 rural residential to R0 single family residential district Z 2023-07. Eric?
Yes, so this is adjacent to the previous items that was at the beginning of the agenda, back to the west. I hopefully you guys had an opportunity to read the staff report to give you kind of a history of this particular piece of property. Essentially, this started out as a special use permit for a mobile home park. At that particular time, the owner of the property wanted to move forward with that use. During that particular time, the adjacent property owners around the property, but more specifically to the west, which is the dividing line between us and the city of Edmond, were concerned about the environmental aspects of this in regards to waste remediation and the use of aerobic systems. During that time, the county went as far as to go back and review all of our special use permits that were in place at that particular time, and even went as far as to remove some of those special use permits for particular areas that they were not being used. Obviously, this one was being used, and so as this process went on, the property owners, which is Edinburgh Point, the subdivision there to the west, went as far as to sue the developer, and I think the county was involved to some degree. The court essentially sided with the people in Edinburgh Point to where the zoning of the special use permit was removed. So as of today, the property sits as R2, and now they are wanting to rezone it to R0 for smaller lots. Now, the way our zoning regulations is set up, we only have a few residential categories. R2 is anything 2 acres and above. R1 is less than 2 but greater than 1. And then we have R0, which is essentially less than 1, but then it can go as small as 6,000 square foot. In this particular case, the applicant is wanting to do half-acre lots under that zoning designation. So I want to point that out. Also, Logan County Rural Water has run a water line to this particular site when it was being constructed as a mobile home park. Obviously, you see the roads there. They were in the process of building those roads before the court case, and then essentially once the court case occurred and there was a decision that was made, everything came to a halt, and it's been out there the way you currently see it for at least 5 years now, if I recall correctly. And so that's kind of the history of this particular piece of property. They're just doing the rezoning today, but based on half-acre lots, you could potentially have 80 lots in there, give or take. That's just based on the information that we've been given. They do have, they don't have a rendering, I'm sorry, I thought there was a rendering, but so that's really all that we have on this particular case as far as what would be out there. The applicant is here to speak more on that. But if you have any questions for me, I'll be happy to answer those.
Okay, Eric, I've got a question. So this R0,
Mhm.
what's the minimum size?
So with R0, the minimum is 6,000 square feet. So I know Miss Patterson might be familiar with this Meadows of MacArthur Park, which is off 178th and MacArthur. Those lots are 6,000 square foot.
Was that 60 by 100? Is that 60?
Roughly, yeah, give or take.
So if we were to use that, how many houses can be built in here?
A lot. But
Because once we approve it for R0, there is no R half acre.
right, I get what you're getting at, but they've indicated, and it's just we don't have anything in between. That's the issue.
Right.
And so they've indicated to us that they want to do half-acre lots. I mean, the other issue, when you start going below half-acre lots, you have to have some public source in regards to waste water remediation. So you got to have public sewer. The half-acre lot comes in from DEQ when you have access to a public water supply. In this case, Logan County Rural Water. You can take it down to that size, and you can put an aerobic type of system on there to deal with wastewater. So you really can't go any smaller than half-acre lots because you're really confined to the sanitary sewer that you would need to go down to that small. So I get what you're getting at, but at the same time, they're pretty much stuck with what they're wanting to do just because of those limitations.
And this may have nothing to do with that, but we had a situation come up with another couple months ago where, and this was with Deer Creek Water, where they never got a letter or something from them saying they would supply it. So I know there's a line there, but we've also heard people talk about issues with Logan Water. Would we need a letter or a contract or something? How does that work?
They could probably provide us an updated letter. They did provide us the letter with the original one, and we know that there's a line sitting out there. The only issue that we've ever had with Logan County is when they go to install the lines, there are certain requirements that have to be met in regards to construction and stormwater runoff. That's the only issue that we've ever had. We've never heard anybody come to us stating that they had service issues.
So I also got to ask the elephant in the room, okay? If we had a legal issue with a mobile home park, I mean, what was the legal issue? Was it the fact it was mobile homes? Was it the density? I mean, and are we creating the same problem just now in houses, not mobile homes?
So in that one, it was just density. At first, there was a conversation, I think, of 250 homes that were going to be put there. As time went on, it dwindled down to 200 homes. But then what they were trying to do in that situation is have multiple homes run to one particular unit. And so it was just all the affluent. They were using a aerobic system that the property owners adjacent to the west were concerned about. How is this property with a number of homes going to be able to handle that much affluent? That's where the issue came in for those folks. Now, I wasn't involved with the court case or anything, so I can't tell you everything that was discussed there. I just know the outcome at the end of the day was to get rid of the special use permit and take it back to its original R2 zoning.
Eric, something else. So you said these roads have been out there for 5 years?
It's been out there for quite some time.
Are they gravel roads? Are they asphalt? Are they concrete?
They're asphalt.
Asphalt roads.
And that's one thing that we'll have to deal with as this process goes on, whatever the outcome may be, is if this is put into place, that's something that we're definitely going to have to be vigilant of as far as what's there now. What are we taking on? What's the quality of the road that's currently out there? Does it have a good subgrade? I mean, there's tests that can be done to determine the current condition of the road, and then the county engineer has the ability to require any improvements that may need to be needed to get the roads up to current standards. Now, they were built at the county standard at that particular time. So, you know, if I recall correctly, as you go to the two entrances along Waterloo Road, the road itself was not finished all the way up to the road. They left a pretty good gap there. So people in the area just couldn't come into the subdivision. I mean, you have to basically come off of Waterloo Road. There's a pretty good drop to the actual ground itself and then come back up to the actual roadway on the other side. So I would be surprised if there's any real degradation in regards to people using the road. Maybe by the elements, there might be some degradation, but that's something that you can determine with testing.
Who owns the roads right now?
The developer.
The PUD to the east, what is that for?
That is the PUD that we spoke about earlier in the meeting. That's for the commercial and industrial activities. All of that. It really hadn't been developed out there as of yet. Really, you'll see the Dollar General that's there, but I will say we've been having more interest in that particular property as of late, so there may be some things coming up here in the future.
So that's commercial property, basically.
Right, that's right.
east.
Yeah, so that's just giving you an idea of the zoning there in the area. So you have the PUD, you have the Dollar General there. As you go back east, you can see some areas that are zoned commercial. There's a couple other PUDs. One of those is a self-storage facility that's there already, but they rezoned the particular piece of property to the south of them for expansion, future expansion. So that's what that PUD is. And as you continue east, that's Prosper Business Park that you see there. That's a commercial business park. They have a couple of shops in there now, and they're actually building more, but it's more commercial oriented. And then as you go back to the east, all that's R2, and then you start getting into I-35, which a lot of that is industrial and commercial as you get towards there. Obviously, north is Logan County. As you can see, kind of as you get to the north and east there, they have a lot of commercial development. It's kind of hodgepodge, if you will, but that's kind of what's going on there in the area. That was the purpose of that, just to kind of give you an overall idea of what's going on in our jurisdiction.
The subdivision to the west, those are 1 acre.
I think those are a little bit over an acre in size, but that west property line there is a dividing line between Oklahoma County and the city of Edmond. So that subdivision is actually in the city limits of Edmond.
But from a notification standpoint, we would have sent letters to them as well.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, they were notified.
And we did not receive any protest letters.
No. We did get some phone calls. From my understanding, the engineer for the developer, they had a public meeting beforehand to get with the adjacent property owners there in the area to go over some ideas, I would assume, to see what those property owners would be agreeable to as far as development on this particular property. I'll have them speak to that when they get their chance.
And just to confirm, we're not at that point, but if we were to approve this, when they brought in the initial plat, that's when we could require half-acre lots, or
Right,
confirm.
you would have the ability, because they would have to do a general plat, a preliminary plat, and a final plat. So yes, that general plat is essentially the first step in that process that you could verify the size of the lot.
Any other questions for Eric? Sir, anyone here who would like to talk in favor of this project?
Good afternoon, Mark Zidzow with Johnson and Associates. Address is 1 East Sheridan Avenue. Thank you all for your time. As Eric went through the kind of long history on this property, ultimately what happened in that court case was the courts determined that the special use permit from 1985 was no longer valid. And so Stonetown is the current owner. They were the mobile home park developer. Our client has it under contract. And that developer is also the home builder, Shaw Homes. They're a builder out of Tulsa, and they do work in East Edmond now. So knowing the history of this property and the neighbors that we worked with some 5 years ago, right after we submitted the application, we sent out notice for a neighborhood meeting. Our office met with them. There was roughly 15 to 20 people that showed up, and I know there's at least one gentleman here from that meeting that was had today. So what we're proposing, Eric was spot on, in that we're proposing a zoning that allows for 6,000 square foot lots. Per state DEQ regulations, we're not able to build that. There would have to be public sanitary sewer, and there is no public sanitary sewer anywhere near this area. So what we're proposing will be 54 lots. This was shown to the neighbors. One of the unique things about this property is that the streets are in. This development is essentially being done backward because streets were put in for the mobile home park, which heavily restricts the way that this can be laid out and the lot sizes. So if you were scrapping those streets and starting over, there's a lot of lots that would be laid out completely differently. And an example of that is this block has 3 lots on it and is surrounded by streets on all 4 sides. It's not a common layout. It'd be an inefficient design if we were starting new, but unfortunately, we're starting with streets that were put in. So 54 lots is what you'll see on a general and preliminary plat at a later date. Again, we had a neighborhood meeting. We think it went well. We've sent 2 follow-up emails letting people know that the hearing was going to be today. We received no other feedback or concerns from that group, but we're happy to answer any questions. The only other thing I'll note is when we get to the platting stage, we know that we'll have to work with the county. Inspections will have to be done on the roads, and the developer will have to upgrade or repair any deficiencies that are determined at that time. Yes, sir.
So the picture I'm looking at the screen and the picture that you held up looks different. Okay.
It looks like there's one other road here.
So is that, how come that road is not there on your chart?
So this was the original plat. They may have built an additional piece of street. So we'll likely end up losing 2 lots right there. But other than that, I think everything else is the same.
So you're proposing to take out that street?
Well, we'll discuss that when we get to the platting stage, but my guess is that street will end up remaining, and we'll have a connection here and with just 2 lots. So from 54, we'll go down to 52.
Want a closer look?
No, no, it's,
I
And
got a
alo-
question. The cul-de-sacs on that plat, are they up to the current standards, current measurements?
have the cul-de-sac standards been changed since 2017? Because if not, I would believe they are.
I'd have to go back and look. We did update the regulations in 2021, but I think the cul-de-sacs remain.
Stayed.
And as Eric was saying, we do have a water line that comes in and you do have an agreement with Logan County and
Correct. So Logan County water exists to the site. They've previously granted this property permission to tie on. We'll have to do additional letters and requirements when we get to the plating stage. But to this point, we've had no areas of concern from the rural water district.
any other questions?
The only other thing I'll add is through the neighborhood meeting, the developer did provide renderings of the homes. We talked about those. At the neighborhood meeting, the developer said these homes are going to be in the 2,800 or 2,500 to 3,500 square foot range. So a lot of information was shared with them, including likely reworking the detention pond. As noted, you have a development that was left kind of wherever it stood when the court case was overturned. So a lot of work and engineering still has to be done before any homes are built.
And if I did my math correctly, we're looking at approximately 0.75 to 0.8 acres per lot if we're doing 50 to 50 or 52 to 54.
That would be how the gross density worked out. The minimum lot size on the plat would be half an acre. But
Right.
yeah. Some end up larger just because we're working with an existing depth and we can't change that. The other thing I'll note is on the west side, there is a 50-foot easement and buffer that will remain. So the trees that are there will remain there as well.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is there anyone here who would like to talk against this project? Again, name and address?
Yes, thank you. Tile North, Atlas Asphalt Products, 3800 Northwest 8th Street. We've been watching this with some curiosity for the years, and our concern, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but would be Waterloo Road. We wanted to get in early and express concerns, and as a gentleman spoke earlier, residential does have to have additional lanes to handle acceleration, deceleration as residents are entering and exiting the property. This particular section of Waterloo Road, you do have some sight distance issues, both east and west. The west property line of this that we have here on the drawing is a hill, so you have a side issue that way, as well as back towards the intersection of Coltrane. We have industrial activity. There's an industrial park just to the west of us that has another hot mix asphalt plant, a ready mix concrete plant, 2 construction companies, as well as other industrial activity. There's quite a bit of traffic going on, and we understand that this isn't the original plan of over 200 residences, but you're still adding more traffic to that area. So we just wanted to come in early and express concerns and request, if possible, that the entrances to the new platted subdivision be set back to allow for additional lanes. We would request a turn lane maybe be added. When we constructed our facility, we did set back. We are on the Logan County side, but we did set back our entrance to allow for expansion on Waterloo Road, and would hope that the same would happen with this residential. And if possible, adding a turn lane, which would increase the safety, not only for the industrial traffic going in and out, but also for the increased residential traffic.
Would you mind pointing and showing us where you're located on the map without touching the map? Because it's a, yeah. It's, okay. Right. This is Copper Hill, so this is the side issue to the west. We have another Copper Hill in location, Dollar General, that's close to Coltrane and Waterloo intersection. Got site distance issues. Any questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your time.
Anybody else? Name and address, please.
My name is Greg Ripple, the 2200 Chiswick Road, which is the southeast corner of Edinburgh Point. Trumbo, it's good to see you again, Eric. We became fairly well acquainted with the trailer park. We appreciate Johnson and Associates having the community meeting with us and just kind of sharing with us what they had in mind. I don't think anybody in our subdivision is particularly upset with the plan as it stands right now with half-acre lots. You know, and obviously there's been some ongoing drainage issues that we would like addressed because we still receive sediment off of this site in violation of the stormwater permit, but that's, you know, that's something that can be fixed fairly readily. But other than that, I think for the most part, I think we can work with this builder and probably not have any major issues with this development.
As you heard the other gentleman say, can you give us a little insight into the traffic on this road?
It's pretty heavy. I would agree with him, especially that west access point out of there is right on a hill. That's, you know, part of that is the Johnson grass and the high ditch that's running along the south side of Waterloo Road. And I'm assuming that once they start working on that, that'll probably get beveled off. But yes, that right now, that's a pretty serious problem. You know, there's not any traffic particular coming in and out of here other than the motocross racers and the high school students having parties and stuff in there. But it is, as it stands right now, that west access point is a serious problem, and I think needs to be addressed. But like I said, some dirt work and some other things could probably remedy that. But other than that, you know, I think Eric summed up the legal issues fairly well. We discovered late in the game that that special use permit for this property actually had a sunset clause in it, so that's how that ended up. But anyway, if you have any questions of me, I'm
Any other questions?
fairly familiar with what has happened here over the last 5 years.
Okay. Thank you, sir. We
Thank you.
appreciate it. Anyone else here want to speak either for or against? Okay, Eric?
I just will say in regard to Mr. North's concern with residential, we do require an additional 17 feet of right of way. So based on the speed limit through there, they'll have to do ingress, egress out of there, but we'll have additional room for that improvement for people to get ingress and egress out of the subdivision.
But that's all of the in the plotting purpose, or
Right, the plating part,
platting
right.
part. Yeah, right. Okay.
Okay, I got a question here. So according to the regulations, do there have to be two access points to get into that area?
No, actually, if it's based on the number of lots, so it's close. Let me look here now that you mentioned it. It may be pretty close because you stated it was 52. So let me look here. If I recall
If I
correctly.
remember correctly, he was hoping for 54, but because of that road, it might be 52.
Right. I want to say that's pretty close to the cutoff. So I assume what you're getting at is they could eliminate one of the entrances?
Right. I was, you know, if that west entrance is a problem, could they just get by with one entrance?
Do you mind if we ask the gentleman, Eric?
Sure, go right ahead.
You state your name again, just.
Yeah, Mark Zitzow with Johnson and Associates. One of the things that we can agree to is we'll study it, and when we come back with the general plat, we can do a site distance study. And if there is a concern and we can't meet site distance, then that entrance can be taken out. My hunch is when they came in, and the reason they stopped the roads where they were was because of those turn lanes. That's probably why they didn't take them all the way up, because other improvements would have been happening along the frontage. So, but we'll study that and come back at the general plat if this is approved with a site distance study, and we'll either amend our plat before it comes in, or we'll talk through what those safety concerns might be. So most communities, for fire code purposes, it's, you can't have more than 30 lots off of one access point. So I don't know off the top of my head what your regulations say, but
I'm thinking it's 50, but I can't remember for sure.
I want to say it's 50.
But even at 30 or 50, doesn't matter. He's gonna be over both of those if everything goes right. Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, and that study that he's talking about would definitely help, but if it stays at 52, I think both entrances would be required.
Judging by the last person's statement and with all the parties and things going on, those entrances haven't been a problem so far. Sorry, couldn't resist. Any other questions for Eric? If I hearing no other questions or statements, I'll entertain a motion to approve / deny item number 9.
I'll second.
Roll call, Eric?
Ms. Craig? Mr. DeFuria?
Yes.
Ms. Patterson? Mr. Talbot?
Yes.
Mr. Davidson?
No.
And Ms. Cash?
Motion approved. Item number 10, discussion and possible action to receive the July 23 fee fund and expense report. Anything to announce with that, Eric?
No. I mean, you see maybe a little bit more money just in regards to registration, re-registration for trades. And that'll show up in this and in the August as well. But beyond that, I mean, we're still up quite a bit from what it used to be in the past. Typically in the past, we would have 300 to 350 building permits a year. We're already at 300 for this year now. So there's definitely an uptick.
Doing more building? Yeah.
It's not necessarily new homes, it's more remodels, pools, basically home improvement type of things.
With that said, I'll entertain a motion to approve or to receive the fee fund report.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Craig, Mr. DeFuria,
Yes.
Ms. Patterson, Mr. Talbot,
Yes.
Mr. Davidson,
Yes.
Ms. Cash.
Item number 11, new business. In accordance with the Open Meetings Act, section 311.9, new business is defined as any matter not known about or which could not have been reasonably foreseen prior to the time of posting of the agenda. Any new business, Eric?
No, sir.
Then item number 12, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
Second. Roll call.
Ms. Craig, Mr. DeFuria, Ms. Patterson, Mr. Talbot,
Yes.
Mr. Davidson.
Yes.
Ms. Cash.
We are adjourned.
No, it wasn't mine. I thought mine was yours. We'll leave it there then.
All right.
Yeah. I'll wait. I stopped it. What's that? Are they? But it seems like they're gonna be putting those up in there for, I mean, 2,500 to 3,000 square feet should be something. Better to look at the mobile home. But I think I've seen a few of their signs or something. They're relatively new, orange, yeah. Are we still in like certain price ranges are moving pretty good, but as you get higher up the scale, they slow down?
Sitting on a couple of 1.2 right now.
Yes, it will. Have you jumped into the pool of all these other builders giving out $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 incentives?
No, but I'm.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
we're looking at pool projects.
Mhm.
Money and then they just have the left.
So, not to get into the rumor mill, but I don't know how, did, Tabor Holmes, did he get divorced? Did she take him to the cleaners? Yeah.
That's not a rumor.
That's true. Okay. I hear, cause I mean, they laid off a lot of people and stuff and I don't know if that was related to all that. Huh. Well, it sounds like, again, not getting into it, it sounds like he deserved it.